Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of For What It's Nerd. Today we are going to be discussing Eyes of Wakanda. I'm a little bit late to discussing this one, but before we get into that, there's a few little headlines I want to run through. First off, the trailer for the kind of sequel series to The Office, released earlier this week, and I've got to be honest, I didn't really care for the trailer. Don't get me great. It's great to see. I think it's Donald Gleason in the main role, and it's nice to see Oscar from the original Office back in this show as well. And I think actually Oscar is the best part of this, and actually Donald Gleason is to a degree. But overall, I don't think I'm going to thoroughly love this show. Comedy is different now, yes, but I feel like The Office had a certain vibe and was and funnily enough was right for the time that it was in. I don't know if this is going to stand up in the same way. Comedy now is much more like that of Abbott Elementary and that kind of genre, and even to a degree, Only Murders in the Building, even though that show is somewhat of like a drama and comedy, but more like that. I don't know if The Office, the paper, is going to survive in quite the same way. We'll see how that goes. Who knows? It might be funnier in the actual show than it was in the trailer, but it was not particularly a very funny trailer. Then, as well, we have Spider-Man filming in, I believe, Glasgow at the moment. I think actually they might be kind of nearing the end of that stint. I could be wrong about that, though. But people have been very excited about that. They showed off the new suit. It's very much the classic style. And people are loving it. People are very excited for this movie. I am very excited. I'm more excited about the fact that Punisher and Hulk are going to be in it. And whoever the villain ends up being, because apparently the villain is someone we don't know yet. It's not Mr. Negative, it's someone else. Whoever that ends up being, I'm excited to see that as well. But the kind of the Hulk, Punisher, Spider-Man trio, and the fact that Hulk works to kind of portray Spider-Man's strength, and then Punisher works to show Spider-Man's morals, is actually a very sensible, like, amazing idea that they're the two antitheses to Spider-Man in a way. So great, exciting to see that, and obviously it's really cool to see that it's filming now. Obviously we've still got a year to wait before that movie comes out, but we do have Wonder Man Marvel-wise to keep us entertained for the end of this year. And in the meantime, there's other superhero stuff like Peacemaker Season 2 is coming out soon, etc. Last bit of news before we jump back to Eyes of Wakanda is Matt Smith is reportedly going to be the villain in the Star Wars Starfighter movie alongside Ryan Gosling and Mia Goth, who are also going to feature in the movie. I'm excited about this. Matt Smith is a great actor. I've enjoyed pretty much everything Matt Smith has been in that I've watched. I think he's really good at getting into those, like, he can be very funny with his characters, but he can be very dark with his characters. I'm expecting something very similar to a Dryden Voss type character from Paul Bettany in Solo. Expecting something similar to that. But who knows what it could actually be. I'm kind of hoping it's not going to be more Empire stuff. I'm hoping we're kind of moving beyond that, or First Order, or whatever you want to call them at whichever point in the timeline. Hoping we're moving away from that, but we shall see. Definitely excited to see Matt Smith in Star Wars, considering people thought for a long time he was going to be in Rise of Skywalker. So good to see him showing up again here. Now, on to Eyes of Wakanda. Again, this has been, it's been over a week since it came out. But I wanted to discuss it, wanted to break it down with you guys, because I think it's worth talking about still. So, personally, I didn't love the show. And what I want to say by that is, the art style, I didn't love at first, but it grew on me. The musical score was fine, great, as always. The characters were actually somewhat interesting. I think each of the characters they portrayed were interesting in their own right, and they deserved more time, and that is the problem. 4 episodes was not enough for this series, like, not at all enough. And the reason for that, there's a few different reasons. First off, the characters didn't get to develop. Second off, it felt very stunted in terms of the story they were telling. The end of the 4 episodes, you learn that there's this kind of overarching threat, but that is only really linked to the last episode and not the other 3, really. And more to the point, I feel like if that there'd be more hints dropped about that earlier on, that would have been exciting, as well as the fact that each of these arcs, each of these 1 episodes, could have easily been 2 or 3. And personally, if you did 12 episodes and you had each of these agents go on 3 artifact finding missions, I think it could have really added to this story in such a strong way, built those bonds up. I think the Prince in episode 4 was actually my favorite character of the lot. Followed by the guy he was actually with, his mentor. And I feel like even if they'd maybe actually just did those characters and expand that out into like 8 episodes and did just those characters, it would have been great. Oppositely, I would have also potentially done the first character from the first episode and expanded her episodes out and showed that this guy was going around, the lion was going around and taking artifacts from different places, and do it that way and kind of tell that story. I would have personally made this maybe even a multi-season thing. But sadly, that's not going to be the case in this one. And yeah, I think it's a little bit disappointing because I think so much of the Black Panther, well, everything that's come out Black Panther-wise from Ryan Coogler has been so pristine and so well done. And I really enjoyed BP1 and I really enjoyed Wakanda Forever. And even Ironheart, I know it's more Black Panther adjacent in this universe. But even that, obviously, Ryan Coogler executive produced that to a degree, and that was passable. It was somewhat relevant. It was somewhat interesting. This, I feel, has really been let down by the fact that it feels just like it's been cut in half. I'm really disappointed in it, to be honest. So that's kind of my take on it. I wonder what other people think. I want to make it clear, I think, that I didn't dislike the show and I wanted to like the show more, if that makes sense. I think if they'd added more elements of the Marvel Universe into it as well, if you'd added an episode where it was them trying to take one from Hydra and doing it during the war and maybe even having Cap be involved in that would have been a cool episode. One in Canada and do a Wolverine episode, and that would be really cool because is it in this universe then or is it in another one? And kind of like have it be something that's set apart, and then like because they're talking about time streams at the end, why not make it like a different time stream? So that could potentially be an option. The Iron Fist cameo was actually my favorite part. Really seeing an Iron Fist on the screen and seeing them fleshed out in that way was really fun. And yeah, you could do more of that. You could have there being a research facility that they have to break into, and it's Hydra or it's AIM or just something that makes it more Marvelous. Because it felt like whilst it was definitely Wakanda based, and I loved everything about Wakanda and seeing that civilization be expanded out beyond the royal family and seeing real like people, soldiers of Wakanda was really fun. But I wish we'd seen kind of the alternate side of that, like a little bit more Marvel in there. And I don't think that you have to make those I think you could have made those characters more distinct by having them have some kind of vibranium powers. Seeing the vibranium like gauntlet and like armor pieces that they had was really cool, and I wish they'd added into that a little bit more. And I also wish we kind of maybe had an earlier Black Panther show up in the show, like actually within the show, than the one that's like shows up that's from the last of the timeline. I think it would be cool to have seen the other Panthers as well. If you're going to do an anthology series, let's build up that mythos as much as we can. Personally, I would have even made the episodes longer, but that's just me. What I guess I'm trying to say with this is I wanted to enjoy the show more, and I didn't because the potential of the show was stifled by the show itself, if that makes sense. I think that makes sense. I personally believe that there was more to give from this concept and it was undercut, and that's a shame. So that's really going to be it for this one, actually. It's a really short episode because I kind of had my thoughts. Because I've had over a week to kind of gesticulate on this. Is gesticulate even the right word? Postulate? Whatever you want to call it. Because those thoughts have been kind of ruminating in my head, I've been able to come in here and just kind of bam, straight out, get it out there. So yeah, that is it for this episode. I do not know what we're going to be covering next week, but I'm sure there'll be something to discuss. Until then, guys, as always, thank you for listening and watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.